Yo, what's good, folks? The golden voice that you're hearing right now is none other than the one and only Truth Be Told. You know, positive is where I live. And the podcast that you're listening to right now is The E.I.T.H.R by my boy, D.Cal, my OG. So give it up and listen in. I love y'all. Mwah.
What up, what up, testing. 1, 2, 1, 2, are we on? Looks like we are. Hey, this is D-Cal, host of the E.I.T.H.R podcast. How you guys doing?
Here we go, a show to slowly unfold some views that's in the news that make us uncomfortable. You never heard this podcast is broadcasting contrast of popular opinion. Stop that, assuming that you knew every view that's brewing. So keep it moving. If you got any sense, then you're welcome to put two so in. Listen in, relax, chill, take a breather, and let D-Cal put y'all onto the ether.
Yo, what up? You put this thing on? Hey, what's up? It's D-Cal, host of the E.I.T.H.R podcast, coming from you from the GNS HQ in Northern California. Man, it's good to be back. Y'all miss me? Shut up. You know damn well you did miss me. I don't want to hear none of that. Yo, so we are coming live from Monday, January 22nd, 2024. Happy New Year to everybody. So, I want to say it's been a minute, and a lot's happened, lots been going on in my life. That's why your boy's been gone for a few months, but all is well. Shit's starting to improve, so we're gonna get into that a little bit here. But again, I want to welcome everybody to the E.I.T.H.R podcast here with your boy D-Cal. First thing I want to do is give the phone number out, 916-282-9372. So you can go ahead and give a call or a text message, 916-282-9372. So to anyone who's new to the podcast, the way we do things here is the ether, except for the elephant in the room, where we talk about topics and discussions and issues that goes on in people's lives. And we try to look at everything from a balanced perspective or a non-biased perspective. Non-biased as much as possible. So even if you hear the things on this podcast that you don't necessarily agree with, at least you'll have a better understanding or more of a clear perspective of what you're disagreeing with. So that's what we tend to do here on this platform. Episode number 138. Man, that's crazy, right? So we're here, Chief. We doing it. The last time we talked about, the last episode was back in October, and damn, a lot has happened in the world, right? So I have this notebook. I like to jot down ideas that I want to talk about on the podcast, so on and so forth. And somebody's in trouble. And so, yeah, man, a lot of things have happened. So everything I had written down, a lot of that shit's obsolete and gone, and no one really cares about it anymore. But we're gonna do the best we can with what we got here. So that's what that is. So starting off each episode, for those of you who are new, we like to give a shout out, and we like to do what's called inspirational, motivational. Something I've been doing since the beginning. In this time right now, the way the world is, we definitely could use some encouraging inspiration and motivation, more so it seems than ever. So what I want to do is give a shout out to the GNS Entertainment branch. As you can clearly hear in the music in the background, it's music that we compose to give you something to help digest the conversation that we got going on with the podcast. That way, it's a little bit more entertaining than just dead ass air and talking. So we do that. But the reason I'm going to give a shout out to GNS Entertainment is because the song that you hear right now in the background called Late Night Commute, it is the, I guess you can say, the second single that we released for GNS Entertainment. And there's 3 singles in the process of being released in total. You're going to hear another one later on in the episode of the podcast. But I just want to give a shout out for that, because that is new charted waters to have a single in the mix. And we're debating if we just want to kind of keep everything individual, such as, drop a song here, drop a song there, or if we're actually going to put out an EP of instrumentals. It was something that we were thinking about doing back in 23, and then Andre 3000 dropped his instrumental. I'm like, okay, but it was very different. Jazz does it all the time, so it's no different to drop instrumental albums. So we're gonna get into that. But inspirational, motivational, man, I want to go ahead and drop this jewel real quick for you guys, and I need you to understand that some, not all, but some of you don't even realize how you light up rooms, shift atmospheres, and carry inspiration just by being you. A walking love letter, and you don't even know it. So remember who you are, y'all. It's your boy, the Ether. It's your boy, D-Cal, hosting the E.I.T.H.R podcast from the GNS HQ. We're going to get a word from our sponsor, and then we're going to get right back into this episode. Hold up.
Most t-shirts are simply cool to look at and or look in. Well, so are ours. But ours also aim to send a message. They aim to put a name on obstacles that once stood in your way and aren't there anymore. Struggles that you turned into successes and crushed. You made it look easy. Shop at mile.today. Mile.today. www.mile.today. A GNS collection.
This is Dave in Auburn, California, and I'm listening to the E.I.T.H.R with D-Cal.
All right, cool. We back. So, kind of get into with what's going on with me and why I was absent, just so that way people can kind of get it clear. It was a lot of, we can say, emotional, mental, psychological stuff, because everything that's going on in everybody else's life, people kind of got their own issues and they handle it differently. So for me, I just really had to take a step back on everything, because not that I had too much on my plate. It was just more, obstacles kept arising that was causing your boy to have to put certain things on pause, and it was taking a physical toll on me, and so that was taking a psychological toll on me as well. And so I just really felt as if I wasn't going to be able to give these episodes full attention, full effort. It was going to probably just sound like some dry ass episode, and I really didn't want to do that. So each time I wanted to come back onto the microphone and holler at y'all, I just never had the energy to do it, and it was me basically in my own head. And so, like I said, I had to, step back, take a hiatus real quick, and just refocus and re-strategize and look at things from a different perspective and from a different angle, and so on and so forth. And that's what we did right here. So it was good. On top of that, we were in the process of relocating from one spot to another spot, which we did, but there were some issues with that spot, which added compound on top of everything that was going on. Listen, you're never going to have the perfect scenario situation. Those rarely ever do happen. I should say they rarely ever do happen. With this, though, it just wasn't the right feel. But we relocated again. And the spot that I'm in right now for the podcast is ideal. So we're working on getting some things to where we can stream episodes when we have guests and kind of be a little bit more interactive with my people. But the message and all of that to you is just, look, man, every one of us goes through, some type of obstacle, hiccup, hurdle, roadblock, whatever you want to call it, whatever name you want to give it. But the beauty about it is you don't necessarily have to allow that to stop you, and so it was definitely something where I had to reflect on a lot of other stuff. So, sometimes when you're stuck by yourself, the only voice you have is the one in your head. So that's pretty much what was going on with me. And I'm one of those people where there's not really much you can say to hurt my feelings, because I fucked my own self up with my own criticism with, are you doing too much? And even with that, it's the flip side of the coin. It's like, are you even doing enough? And it's a constant battle with that with myself. And I know there's a lot of people out there who second, third, fourth guess yourself. But the bottom line is, if you know you're doing the right thing and you're giving it everything that you can, everything that you're able to, well, that's all you can actually ask. That's all you can really just do. So I just want to take that moment to give my listenership what was going on with me, what was the absence, and we are going to be more consistent with being back on track. And even if I can't come back to the HQ to do the episode, setting up situations where I can do the episodes more frequently on the road, not just on Mondays where we do the mile where we travel to different places, so on and so forth. It's been so long. See, I can't remember the segments that we got going on, but we're going to knock the rust off as the show goes on, so don't worry about that. One thing I want to talk about is anyone in California, anyone who visits California, they understand there's a franchise called In-N-Out Burger. And In-N-Out Burger is a staple in the West Coast, particularly the Golden State, where when people have this thing, it's a very high demand burger chain throughout the state. And in the podcast description, I kind of put, it says In-N-Out of Oakland, California. I mean, I can't find the article, but basically in a nutshell, In-N-Out Burger in Oakland, if I'm not mistaken, on Hagenberger, right where the Oakland Coliseum is, like in that area, across the street from it, actually. They are permanently closing their doors due to crime and vandalism. And listen, born in Berkeley, raised in Oakland, proud of my city, love my city. It's changed, it's gotten worse, while at the same time it's also gotten better. And this generation is obviously different than the generation I grew up in. With the social media, camera phones, how easily accessible information is, so on and so forth. But this is kind of a bad look. And I understand things are rough, and listen, there's cause and effect, right? Crime goes up because there's usually, most of the time, opportunities that are not available for people to get, quote unquote, the legal way. Now, I'm not making any excuses. I'm just breaking down the facts. When there aren't many jobs, or the jobs that are available aren't desirable, are not the kind that pay enough, especially with the prices of gas and housing, and housing is a different scenario. But when the price of everything is going up except for the price of pay, it's easier to take than it is to work. The problem with that mindset is, and I've said this in previous episodes before, y'all, when you steal, burglarize, take, rob, whatever you want to describe it as. Whenever you do that, you're causing the business to possibly reconsider and relocate. Sacramento, California, on West El Camino Boulevard by Del Paso Boulevard, there was a Walgreens. In said Walgreens, people would come in there and casually walk the fuck out with soda, chips, food, blatantly making contact with the cashiers and the employees and people in line who's standing there paying for their stuff. Listen, it's cool for the moment, right? To go inside someplace and steal knowing they can't touch you, air quotes, and walk out with free food. Because you get to keep your money and you get your snacks. I get all that. But what you just caused that Walgreens now to do was shut down and close. So you took away jobs. You made the place significantly less desirable for business to go. And in a scheme of business, what that does, it causes the appreciation of your neighborhood to drop. So you think your neighborhood, you think your area, you think your block looks undesirable now because of, cosmetic, the way it looks. You really are hurting shit now because now businesses are saying, we don't want to be there. Right? It's funny when it's happening, but it's no longer funny after it happens. So in San Francisco, there was I believe it was a Walgreens or a CVS where everything is basically locked up with chain, like it's chained up. You have to get an employee with a key to unlock the chain and undo the chain so they can get you your milk or get you your NyQuil or get you whatever. And it looks horrible. When you walk into it, everything is like the food's in prison. That's what it appears, right? That's the kind of but it's a necessity for that business to be able to function and sell product to people who want to buy shit. Again, if you ain't got the money and it's a vicious cycle, bro. I get it. I mean, you solve one problem, you create another. I understand that because it's so far-fetched and it's so deep into the hole that I don't think anyone really has the patience or time to fix it. So with this In-N-Out Burger, you literally are taking money from your community, right? You came up with the small piece of the puzzle, sure, but you totally fumbled the bag on the big piece of the puzzle, on the bigger picture. So now there's going to be a vacant merchant where it was once a thriving business that brought things to the neighborhood. And unfortunately, they don't teach economics the way they used to. Or maybe people just don't pay attention to economics like they used to. But either way it goes, that location is closing its doors. I remember in one of my episodes, we talked about there's a spot, I think it's on East 12th in East Oakland, where when you order food, there is it's just like a room. Think of like a dental office or a medical or doctor's office where you have chairs, you have a table, and there's a counter where there's somebody, or a kiosk, like kiosk there. And you type in your name. And when you type in your name, it tells you your food, you put in your number, if I remember correctly. You put in your number, and then you'll get like this email alert or a text alert that tells you when your food is ready, and you go to a locker, enter this code, open the door, and your order is right there. I thought that was like the coolest thing in the world. Little Caesars, the pizza chain, for yes who are not familiar with that. Little Caesars has that same feature for people who come and do deliveries. So when a DoorDasher comes in to pick up an order of pizza from Little Caesars, they go to this little shelf and they enter a 3-digit code. With this 3-digit code, The door drops down for that particular section. Your food is right there. You take your food out. And it closes back. That's a genius thing to do. Here is where the future is going to be headed. More food chains that pop up in Oakland or pop up in certain parts of Sacramento, pop up in San Francisco, pop up in high shoplift theft areas. You're going to get that type. You're literally cutting off the interaction between the employee and the employers. I mean, from the employees to the customer. Legitimately, there's now going to be DoorDash has the same feature with a business called DashMart. And majority of their DashMart locations are like that. You walk in, there's a wall with a window, like you would do at DMV, right? But there's a glass around it. They open the glass window, get the name of the order you're picking up, close the window, you wait. They come back, open the window, handle your food, and they close the window again. It's, from my generation, I don't like it because I appreciate the human interaction, right? I appreciate talking to the person, joking around with them, building rapport with them. I come from that era. I come from that generation. I come from a time where you talk to people with your mouth. Use words, right? Now, it's getting to the point where they don't even want you to interact with anybody anymore. And I really can't say you can blame them, man. I mean, the situation, like I said, with this, you can't even go enjoy a burger. If you're from out of town and you already have your opinion about Oakland already, right? Whether it's justifiable or not. You already have your opinion about the town. So you're already sheepish, you're already skittish. Then your people who you're with are like, no, man, it's cool. Don't worry about it. We're going to go here in and out. We're going to grab this burger. We're going to get these fries. We're going to do animal style. We're going to get this. You break down everything. All right, cool. That's your word. I trust you. All right, so we're going to go get this to eat. So let's just do it. You come back to your car, man. 4 windows busted. And nothing's missing. They just want to blip your shit. They just want to break your windows. Or they went through your car. You might not even have that kind of car that requires someone to want to break into, but it was on their list to fuck up. So you already hesitant. You're already skittish about it. Someone talked you into doing it. You went to go do it, and you were right. So now you come back to the car, you have this feeling like, bruh, I knew we shouldn't have come here. The person who took it, they're laughing. They came up. I get it. 100%. But I said this in episodes in the past, man. What you're doing is you're now causing people to not want to go there. And your mindset, it's a IDGAF. This is my hood. Cool. The problem is when no one goes there, there's no money. You make it easier for people to prejudge you now. Because it's a vicious cycle, bro. I don't like the idea In-N-Out Burger is leaving Oakland. I don't. However, I can't say I blame them. It's a bad look. It's just a bad look. And I'm almost willing to bank it's the younger group that's doing it who doesn't understand the consequences. They know the consequences, but they don't understand the consequences. And that is a complete different conversation, right? Like, you know something, but you don't understand it. And then once you get older, you understood what you knew a whole hell of a lot better because you had some life experiences to kind of teach you along the way. Yeah, it's a bad beat. But hey, it's part of life. It's part of life. It is what it is. There's nothing you can do. But it just sucks. It just sucks because at one point Oakland was businesses loved being in there. Now it's a city where businesses are leaving. I mean, sports franchises are leaving. I mean, I get it. And it's not even a case of who's in presidential office. That's irrelevant. I'm not even going to sit back and say necessarily, is a Republican thing or is a Democratic thing. I'm just going to sit back and say it's a struggling thing, right? It's a struggling thing. And hopefully these cats, when all their options of entertainment and leisure are gone and ain't shit else for them to do, I hope they appreciate the next time something comes around for them. Because I really don't see businesses really wanting to spend millions of dollars on infrastructure and technology just to have their customers feel threatened. Yeah, it's a bad look. It's a really bad look. So, that's kind of where that is right there. Here's what I want to get into real quick. So, I was having a conversation with my friend Nora, and in the conversation, I had brought up about this video of a little girl who wanted to have her hair braided. She was like, I want to have my hair, I can't remember exactly what the little girl said, but something like, I want my hair twisted like the lady with the twisty hair. Basically, she was talking about the woman's cornrows. So it was a little white girl. And she was asking her mother if she can do her hair. I'm assuming it's her mother. She was asking somebody in the video if she can, if she can do her hair like that. Then it was a stitched video from TikTok. And this guy comes on and he kind of goes in about how basically the little girl shouldn't have her hair done like that because that's cultural appropriation. And it made me think, do we know the difference between cultural appropriation and appreciation? Because that's a difference. Huge difference between the two. To appreciate a culture is one thing. Appropriate is different. The way I see appreciation is sharing. Your culture has fill in the blank. And I appreciate that. You shared that culture with me. I put that on display because I'm showing pride in a culture that I just learned about or that I'm getting involved in or that I'm a part of. It's a point of pride in this. Appropriation is basically you take that, you interchange it from its original aspect of culture and implement your own and go out and say this is us. It's almost like sampling to create your own style and establish that as your own. In a nutshell, that's appropriation. By my definition. And we got to be cautious and careful with that. Because cultures are meant to be shared. That's how you enlighten the world, right? The issue, I feel, that we all see is anything that is cultural, they take and they use it to make profit off of it. That's appropriation, right? They take it, they put them people, we all know who I'm talking about, them people. They take what's yours, add in their twist, and make it to where they make billions of dollars off of, right? I remember seeing this thing where it was this white lady, and they were selling silky headscarves. I said, that ain't shit but a do-rag, bro. It's a do-rag. It's not a silky hair scarf. It's a do-rag. I remember growing up in the 90s when sisters got made fun of for having dreads, cornrows, braids, weaves, if you will. I remember working at a mall 15 years ago, and they were selling those same things, but calling them hair extension clips. You mock and make fun of a culture for how they have their hair. Then so many years down the line, you copy that, implement your own fine texture of hair in these things, give it a completely different name, and market it. That's bad business, bro. Good business for them because they're capitalizing on something that doesn't belong to them. It's bad business because you're taking something and you're marketing it in a way that it wasn't meant to be marketed. Plus, you're giving a disservice to the people in which you took it from. I don't see how people can understand that. But to appreciate a culture is to acknowledge that culture, acknowledge where that comes from, acknowledge who it's for, who it's from, what it's about, and to be able to carry on that tradition and that meaning amongst your peers to educate. That's different. If a little girl wants to put her hair in braids because she sees a black woman with braids, I don't feel... Let me take that back. I don't see that as appropriation. I see it as a little girl wanting to wear her hair like someone she idolizes. That right there could spark the curiosity of, where do these braids come from? Who started it? What's the reason behind it? Oh, there's a whole culture that does that. Let me look into that. And she's learning. I just have this perspective. A lot of people get the two completely confused. And they don't understand the difference between the two because that's not what's being taught, shown, or spoken about. It's kind of like how people confuse racist and prejudice. Because the two aren't necessarily the same. Prejudice is to prejudge. I'm going to make a judgment on you before I even interact with you. Right? The racist part comes from the accusations, the basis based on your color, and you tend to choose not to even acknowledge there's a difference or an explanation to the difference of what it is you think versus what it is. Racism is something that is set in place based on causing a disproportion or an inequality between. Prejudice is to prejudge this based on lack of understanding, experience, or knowledge of. In a nutshell, that's the two. So again, man, culture is meant to be shared. Culture is meant to be honored. Culture is meant to be respected. If someone outside of your culture genuinely wants to learn about your culture, I don't see a problem with that. I just see the problem when someone comes to learn so they can take it and make it their own as if it belongs to them. Because then when the originator of said culture or someone who's from that lineage gets a hold of it, now it's a disrespect. And I think people need to be a little bit more cautious, a little bit more careful. that's just something that came across in a conversation the other day. I was like, I'm going to talk about this real quick on my podcast, because it's important. It's genuinely important for people to understand the difference between the two. And this brings me to this next topic I want to talk about. Why does pro-black, pro-brown seem to be more of empowerment and unity, and pro-white tends to be more division and supremacy, right? I remember in 8th grade, I was reading this article at Ice Cube, and like Ice Cube was like my biggest idol when I was like in 6th, 7th, 8th grade. And the article was talking about, it was when he and NWA had split. So if you seen the movie Straight Outta Compton, that's cute, but I actually was growing up during the time that shit was real. And in the article, it had mentioned something about Ice Cube, and his pro-black perspective. And I remember saying that I was pro-black. Again, I'm young. I didn't know what the fuck it meant. Ice Cube is this, so I'm this too. That was kind of more my thing. And one of my friends, I'm not going to say her name, but I remember in Miss Ruxton's class, we got into this thing how pro-black hates white people. And I was like, no, it doesn't. And she was like, yes, it do. Pro-black hates white. I'll never forget that day, because I was confused, like, no, but it doesn't. But I wasn't old enough to articulate how it didn't. In many cases, when it comes to, for those who are unaware, traditionally the pro-black, pro-brown stance came from a time when any POC was viewed as less than human, I'll just say that, by those who were non-POCs. It was evident. It was blatant. I mean, the rules, the laws, you kind of know what generations I'm talking about. So it was a way of bringing unity, pride, and strength amongst the minority group of people against those and a system that was set up and designed to keep people separate, divided, and oppressed. The flip side of that coin is majority of those who were pro-white. It was not just the empowerment and uplifting of white people, but the pro-white tend to have the stigma of anyone who's not white is less than us. That was the main differential between the two sides, pro POC, pro non-POC. The message was for pro-black, pro-brown, come together, have our own, so we can establish our own, and we don't necessarily need to be dependent on someone else to give, someone else to provide, someone else to be our beneficiary for, blah, 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 blah. That was it. Pro-white was, we need to keep the animals away from us, good Christians. We need to keep everything white. And if everything wants to come and mingle and murky and dirty us up with their color, then you keep them there, keep us here, life is great. The folks who had the most benefit collectively in society didn't want those benefits getting to the people who didn't have them, unless you played their game by their rules. POCs were saying, we want to be able to have our own independently, right? There's your difference between the two. I remember watching the film not too long ago, Judas and the Black Messiah, which is about Fred Hampton, who was assassinated. Dude was smart. Dude was very sharp. Dude was very, very ahead of his time. He was only like 19, 20 years old back when this happened. And he understood what I have an understanding of. Divided we fall. And in this film, you can check it out on Tubi, in case you guys are wondering. Judas and the Black Messiah. He was able to go to the Young Patriots. This is all in Chicago, back in the 60s. And he went to the Young Patriots and they were having like their group meeting. Yo, the way my mans approached them, it was exactly what people need to understand. Because he basically broke down to them, listen, you pay your taxes like I pay my taxes. And we both got to deal with the same situation. They look at us because we're black, so they treat us a certain way. You're white, but to them, you're a lesser class of white. That's why they treat you a certain type of way. And if you really pay attention, we got more in common than we don't. And it was just the way that conversation went. And then they went to, what was the Latin group? I think they were Puerto Rican. That group, same thing. And what he did was they formed what was called the Rainbow Coalition. Now, in today's world, 2024, you create the Rainbow Coalition, someone's automatically going to call it, the woke group. First of all, again, most of you don't even know what the fuck woke is. Okay, media calls it that. Media displays their version of it. You take that as the definition. That's not what woke is. Woke isn't what you see being shown on social media. That's not. If you think that's what woke is, your ass is still asleep. Woke is understanding and being able to see through the bullshit. That's what woke is. Woke is understanding what the government does. Woke is understanding how people are being divided. Woke is understanding the things that aren't there, but you can see them as clear as day. Not that it's a conspiracy. Not that you're making things up and being paranoia. Woke is to be able to see, no. I see what you're doing, and I don't appreciate that. That's what the definition is. So, he was woke and woke everybody up because those three groups in Chicago together is what caused, what was his name? Was it, why am I drawing a blank on the guy's name? He was the director of the CIA at the time, Edgar Hoover. It caused him to do what he did for the Black Panther, and the White Panther group. Yes, there was a White Panther group. And the Rainbow Coalition. Like, it's wild, man. It's wild. So, that is my perspective of how the two pros differentiate. One group was meant to empower each other because they were under the thumb of the regime that still holds us under a thumb to today. The other group was designed, quote unquote, to keep people divided and to not allow any type of integration or unity amongst anyone who was darker than them. Complete separation. Again, some would say, well, there is no difference between the two if you really break it down. But one wasn't trying to kill the other side. One was trying to defend themselves against those from that side. It's to understand it. Again, if you break it down, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between or however you identify, you understand that both sides have more in common than they don't. But it's just easier to pick at the emotion versus to use the brain and have logic to see the difference. it's a it's a hell of a spoon that they're stirring. It's a hell of a pot that we're in. But hopefully, one of these days, more people kind of brighten the fuck up and realize, what that is. But with this, kind of with politics too, it's wild, man, because there's that one politician, Nikki something, who made the comment how America was never a racist country. And it's situations like that where one of the biggest problems I feel with America is this. Anything that can make them look horrible, they want to rewrite it. They're all about the image and how they're perceived and the way they're seen. If they can control and change that narrative to where they are the good guys, that's their MO. One of the problems I feel with our current government, they don't want to accept what they did in the past to anybody. And they want to just move forward and deal with the problems that have risen from those issues. I said in previous episodes of the podcast before, we never want to focus on the why. We always want to focus on the what. The what is forever changing. It's never going to go away because it's a byproduct of the why. If we deal with the why, we can actually prevent the what more so than possible, right? But as the saying goes, there's no money in the cure. The money's in the medicine. You feel me? So I think that is one of the issues that we have with this particular country. And I can't speak for any other country because I've never been in any other country except for Mexico. But I was like, quick visit. We have to understand the whys. And God, I'm telling you, understanding the why is a lot of work. Because it's constantly asking questions and it's constantly breaking things down to where it generates more questions. And there's a hell of a rabbit hole. And with all that drilling, you have to be very aware of the information that you are being presented with, right? Because even though the information is in front of you, it does not necessarily mean that the information in front of you is accurate information. So you have to be very aware of who and where your information source is. That's crucial. I try to keep open mind for any and all information that's given to me. Unless I was there to witness it myself, I don't necessarily believe it, but I don't necessarily think that they're lying. I kind of say, okay. I just deposit that into my mental Rolodex and keep everything open until I'm able to conclude with enough evidence and or experience. I think what some people do is they get information from a source, quote unquote, that they like. And they like this source because this source tends to agree with how they think. All because we think the same doesn't mean that we're right. It just means we think the same. That is the reason, that is the main purpose why I always tend to talk to folks who have different perspectives than I do, especially when it comes to politics. Because I want to be informed with what the enemy, quote unquote, is saying. And a lot of people, and I've learned this, hate discussing anything with people they don't like because they simply don't like them. My thing is this, because you don't like me, you're going to tell me what you honestly feel about me. And through all that emotion, I'm going to hear what it is that I need to correct. If that makes any sense. There was a video that I was watching where the gentleman said he learned that if you, like, him and his wife, they've been married for however long they've been married for, right? And he says, what I do is whenever me and my wife get into an argument, he says, who are you going to call? she says that she's going to call such and such so and so. Like, he's okay, cool. I want you to name 5 people who you would call if me and you ever got into an argument. And she was like, I'm going to call, my friends, blah, 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 blah. He said, okay, cool. Because he's going to call 5 people he knows. He said, what you need to do is call 5 people that you know that's going to side with her. And she needs to call 5 people that she knows is going to side with you. And the reason being is because if you see it the way I see it, you are going to perpetuate and magnify all the things that I don't like and make them bigger than what they really are. But if I go to people who are going to defend my partner, they're going to put things in perspective. They're going to hear what I'm saying, but they're going to counter with things that I'm not looking at and balance it out and give me a different angle to look at things. The same thing goes for her. So that's what they do whenever they get into an argument. He talks to the people that was most likely going to defend her. She talks to the people who was most likely going to defend him. Now you get things from a different angle. So when you come back together, the conversation is a little bit different. Your hot heads have had time to cool. And now you have an understanding that you didn't before from several sources who aren't physically there, but are going to turn things to where you can, okay, I understand that now. In many conversations, we don't do that. In many conversations, we tend to go with people who tend to say things that we like. I have learned I would do that after I talk to someone that I know has a different angle than me. Because I need to know what the opposing side, how they see this. So then I have that debate, that conversation. So now when I go back to the people who I know are going to side with me, I have a different angle to challenge them with. And now we're having a dialogue. And the friends who think opposite of me, they're hearing my side. So I'm also kind of giving them different perspectives as well. That has actually helped because there's 2 friends that I have who generally, they see politics on the opposing side as I used to see. So now we're able to have conversations, non-biased conversations about politics. Yes, their roots are still on one side. Yes, my roots are still on the other side. But we are mature enough to be like, okay, I see how that can happen. Okay. I see where that's coming from. Okay. I see what they're talking about. Okay. No, that makes more sense. And then we're able to see things that most people aren't because we're now no longer looking at it from an emotional perspective. We're looking at it from a logical perspective. So again, back to what I was saying about the pro-black, pro-brown versus the pro-white. The main difference between the 2 sides is one was trying to uplift and protect, the other, generally speaking, seemingly to divide and suppress. There's no problem in having pride in your culture, having pride in your race. None whatsoever. The issue that people will have, it's how you carry yourself about it. Right? I have no problem with any of my friends who have pride in their Irish heritage or in their German heritage or in their Italian heritage or in their Scottish heritage. None whatsoever. Not whatsoever at all. It's the people who generally have the pride in supremacy that I have a problem with. Because if you really, truly, honestly break it down, it should just be pro-culture. Have pride in your culture and appreciate each other's culture, right? Not become a melting pot, but you want to become a salad bowl. Shout out to Jane Elliott on that. You want to become a salad bowl. Because in a salad bowl, you know you're eating a salad. You know you got the croutons, you know you got the tomato, you know you got the pepperoni, you know you got the olive, you know you got the egg, you know you have the lettuce, you know you got the onion, you know you got the raisins, you know you got the mayonnaise. I mean, whatever the hell you float your boat, right? So you know what you got in your salad. But when you're doing a melting pot, everything tastes the same. And the reason being is because the things that nobody like, you can't remove because it's blended with everything else, so it all tastes the same. The issue with a melting pot is there's no flavor. But with a salad, everything comes together to make it taste good. And what you don't like, you can remove. No big deal. And everyone can enjoy their own type of salad. I just have this belief with people. Once you have a better understanding of what the fuck it is that you are disagreeing with, you're going to realize that a lot of the information that you were given was misinformation. Right? A lot of it was just misinformation. And sometimes that misinformation is on purpose. Sometimes it's given to us intentionally in pieces. Sometimes it's given to us intentionally missing something, because it's what keeps the dialogue going. It keeps the blood flowing. It keeps things in people's mouths to where it creates this energy. And then by nature, it creates this division. And by doing so, you can sell people whatever the hell you want. There's a video of what's his name? Lyndon Johnson. And I believe I posted it on the Instagram. What did he say? He says, how do you get... Oh man, how does it start? It basically says if you give... I didn't want to misquote it. I'm going to see if I can post it on the Instagram page again. Instagram, the E.I.T.H.R. E.I.T.H.R. The E.I.T.H.R. Instagram, Twitter, same handle. It's a very profound quote from Lyndon Johnson, who I believe was president before Kennedy, if memory serves me correctly. And bottom line, y'all, I can't speak for any other country, like I said. The United States is a business. The U.S. is a business. Flat out. It's a business. It's transactions upon transactions within transactions. Right? That's why capitalism is such a good thing, air quotes, because that's what this country is based off of. Capitalism. So they're going to make sure they do whatever the hell they can to keep business going. You just got to be a smart customer and understand the difference between good business, bad business, right? But be wise enough to understand that the division that is amongst people, in my example, is how they increase sales, right? It's how they increase sales. So we have the power of whether we want business in America to be good or business for America to be bad. Keep that in mind. Simple as that. The next thing before I head out, you know what? I think I'm going to talk about this one on the next episode, the next time. It's interracial relationships. Because there's a lot of videos I was seeing within that 2-3 month hiatus of mine about interracial relationships. And I think that's a topic that deserves a little bit more time. And it's an interesting one to have. Because There's some people who don't believe in interracial relationships, and I think a lot of that has to do with the options or pickings within that area, whether they appeal to that, whether they don't appeal to that. And there's certain people who feel that you should stick with your own. And there's certain people who feel that love has no color. That's definitely something that needs to be addressed here in the E.I.T.H.R podcast. And I feel, take that back. And I truly believe that that is something that I want to set the record straight when it comes to interracial relationships. Straight the fuck up. So we're gonna make sure we do that. So anyway, I'm getting ready to wrap this episode up, man. I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you very much for tuning in for my first episode back, episode number 138. So we are going to still do our episodes Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Time-wise, we're shooting for 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. I don't know if I'm going to switch that to the AM just because of everything that your boy got going on. Like, things are expanding, things are going, things are moving. So we're going to see how that turns out. What else we got going on? Yeah, that's basically it. So I'll keep you guys posted with what's new over here, man. It's your boy Decal for the E.I.T.H.R podcast. One more time, 916-282-9372. Shout out to GNS Entertainment. I'll keep you guys posted if we're going to decide to do that album or not. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter at TheEITHR. You can also free subscription for our TV channel, GNSETV.com. Go ahead and check that out. And we'll holler at you peoples next time we do. Much love. Appreciate your time. All right. Be safe out there. We out.
Hey everybody, what's up? This is Sabrina Jade, and you're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with Decal.